Hi, I'm Don Simmons. I've been a certified financial planner for more than 30 years, and I've built a firm that manages nearly $250 million for our clients. For the past 15 years, I've focused my attention on what it means to be a steward investor, a person who manages all resources for the true owner, God, and not just myself. I'm passionate about investing in redemptive businesses in remote locations around the globe so that people and communities will flourish as they embrace the good news of the gospel. I take seriously the notion that donations are not more sacred than investments. As a result, I believe that Christians must invest not only for their own financial goals, but we must deploy investments in ways that bring salt and light to regions of darkness. I know that commerce is the language of the world, and it's the perfect place for Jesus to be made known. I also know that investment capital is the lifeblood of all businesses, including those that have clearly defined impact objectives. And yet investors are very hard to find. My calling is to serve God by educating Christians on how to invest with eternal purpose so that the kingdom of heaven can prevail on earth. I've helped many investors to think and behave differently regarding their portfolios, and I've enabled them to invest IRAs, 401ks, after-tax monies, and even donor-advised funds into missional enterprises in restricted access countries. I'm excited to meet you and to guide you to do the same, so that God's resources are released for eternal impact. As Christians, it's important to understand what's in our portfolio and why. But it's equally important to remember that every financial resource that God entrusts to us, not just tithes and donations, should be used to serve Him and to accomplish His purposes. Do you know what you're currently invested in? Have you considered why you chose those investments? More importantly, are you aware that all of our resources, including investments, are meant to be managed in a way that honors God and fulfills His purposes? The New Testament epistle writer James might be talking to you when he says, "Now listen, you rich people, weep and wail because of the misery that's coming on you. Your wealth has rotted, and moths have eaten your clothes. Your gold and silver are corroded, and their corrosion will testify against you and eat your flesh like fire. You've hoarded wealth in the last days." Throughout this course, you'll hear me use the words oikonomos and fiduciary. While these may be unfamiliar words to our ears, they actually represent a very common role, and that's being a manager of someone else's property. Oikonomos is a Greek word for a household manager, a fiduciary. He's a money manager with legal and ethical obligations to act in their client's best interest, not just their own. I chose these words because they most closely match my understanding of how we're to look at all the resources that God entrusts to us. Simply put, we don't own anything. We're simply the manager of someone else's resources. As God's oikonomos, His fiduciary, we need to reckon with the fact that everything we have been given doesn't belong to us, but it belongs to God, the true owner. Therefore, we have a responsibility to manage it according to His wishes, not just our own. James couldn't be more clear about the seriousness of hoarding wealth that doesn't belong to us. In addition to defining key terms regarding our role as God's oikonomos, I also review basic investment terms and categories. By the end of this section, you'll be able to do the following. First, you'll be able to describe why the words oikonomos and fiduciary are the best words to use in describing our responsibilities regarding the resources that we call our own. Second, we'll understand investment basics and the building blocks of portfolios. And third, you'll understand how the warnings in Scripture regarding business owners apply to us as investors. In 2 Corinthians, Paul tells us that Christ died, that those who live might no longer live for themselves, but for Him who died for them and was raised again. We demonstrate that we are living for God when we use our resources not for ourselves, but on behalf of Him who died for us and was raised again. Let's get started.